What's going on, everybody? What I'm going to talk about today is how to dial leads. And if you're on my team, it'll be for insurance leads, final expense, mortgage protection, doesn't matter. Just how to dial leads in general. You have names and numbers to call. This is how you're going to dial them. So let's say you got a stack of 100 leads. Age, brand new, I don't care. You got a stack of 100 leads. What I want you to do, so you got a stack of 100 leads. What I want you to do out of that stack of 100 leads is you're gonna call them all one time. So you're gonna make 100 dials. Let it ring all the way to voicemail because you wanna hear if Robert goes by Dick. So when you call Robert, you call him, hey Dick, etc. So you call them all 100 times. Call all leads, all 100 leads one time. And then you're gonna get the disconnected numbers out the way. You're gonna get some pickups. Maybe you book an appointment, maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. Call them all leads one time of a stack of 100. Then, now let's say you have 100 left over still. So break it down how many leads you got left over, 70, 60, doesn't matter. Then what I want you to do out of that, let's say a stack of 100, is you're going to stack them up evenly, okay? So if you have 100 leads that still have active names and numbers who haven't picked up the phone, you're going to do 4 stacks of 25. So out of those 4 stacks of 25 leads, you take one stack of 25 leads, and now you got 25 leads in the stack, okay? Now, you're going to call because everybody's number is active, you checked it. You're going to call them all 3 times each. Each lead 3 times. Now, some people get scared of this part because they think people are going to be mad, bothered, etc. But there won't be. Some will be. They're just having a bad day. Doesn't matter. Your job is to get them the information that they requested, especially if it's a lead. Even if it's a cold call, it doesn't matter. Your job is to get them to pick up the phone. So if you want to get the most pickups, now you're going to call them 3 times each, all 25. So then boom. You're going to keep down those leads 3 times each until you get down to 12 to 15. My biggest suggestion would be like 12, 13-ish. So therefore, if you call Miss Betty 3 times in an hour and you move on from Miss Betty after calling her 3 times in an hour and you circle back 3 hours later to call her again, you're just another name and number to her. Like you're just another number to Miss Betty who gets calls all day, especially if it's final expense. Somebody told me, I had a client tell me, he showed me his bill from AT&T. Him and his wife he got 4,000 calls in a month. She had like 2,500 calls in a month. So when you call somebody, they're not going to pick up usually because they get scam callers, telemarketers, bill collectors, doesn't matter. So your number needs to stand out to these people for them to pick up the phone. So therefore you can book appointments, sell them over the phone, book appointments are face-to-face, doesn't matter. You need to get them on the phone, so your number needs to stand out. A quick question would be, if you call Miss Betty 3 times and I call 3 times in an hour and I call her 9 times an hour, who's more likely to get the pickup? Me. I called her 9 times in 1 hour with the same phone number. At some point, she can be like, who is this? They keep calling me, and they're going to answer the phone curious, or if they're mad, what do you want? Stick with your script. So now, you're going to keep calling these names and numbers 3 times in a row until you get down to 12 to 13. At some point, you're going to get the fuck offs. You're going to get some appointments, and you're going to get these whatever. So your goal at some point is to get down to 12 to 13. At some point, you're not going to care if Miss Betty, who you've called 9, 10 times in the last hour, you just want her to pick up the phone and tell you to fuck off or book the appointment because you're tired of calling Miss Betty. So boom, you're going to keep calling that stack. Once you get down to 12 to 13, put the stack to the side. You now have the next 25 stack. You're going to rinse and repeat 3 times each until you get down to 12 to 13. Boom, another stack of 25, 12 to 13 leads left over who haven't picked up the phone, book an appointment, or tell you to fuck off. If you have not got that yet, that's next, okay? Then boom, another stack of 25. That's your 100. Now you have these small stacks of 12 to 13 leads. So let's say total after all that, you got about 30, 40 leads. Now what I want you to do is do the same thing. Bang them out. So now if you have 30 leads, get down to 15, 18 leads left over. Get the fuck offs, the FUs, some appointments. Or rinse and repeat until you're done with your dial day. Once you do that, you're going to have enough appointments or sales or whatever. And the whole point of the game is to get them to pick up the phone. So you need your number to be recognized. Once you get that number recognized, you get more pickups, which turns into more conversions, which turns into more sales and gets you paid faster. The whole goal is to get paid. So you need to call them multiple times in a row, 3 times at least, because the first ring, they're not going to pick up. They don't know who it is. Second phone call, they're gonna be like, all right, who is this? The third phone call, like, all right, who is this? Is this like an emergency or something? Usually they'll pick up. Now, if you call Miss Betty 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 times in an hour, she most likely is gonna pick up the phone. Like, for example, some people call Miss Betty 3 times in an hour and move on. She's not going to pick up the phone. You're not standing out. Your number needs to stand out. So in simple facts, when you have leads or cold calls and names and numbers to call, don't matter, names and numbers to call, you want to break them down in an even stack, call them 3 times each, and at a stack of 25, 20, it doesn't matter, till you get down to 12, do the next stack, do the next stack, and do the next stack. That is how you'll get more pickups and more sales to make more money.